All right. Hello, everybody. It is December the 1st, 2023. I am Tom, and I've been down here in Buenos Aires now for, well, since the 2nd of November. I left Vancouver on the 1st and arrived here on the 2nd. So I'm calling this the 1 month roundup. I'm down here for 3 months, and so this is like the 1/3 mark, unless I change my mind about when to go home. So, what to talk about? Um, there's so much that has been going on. One of the things that I noticed recently is that living in a little house uh, changes a lot about the way that you do things. Now, I myself am pretty comfortable in this 32 square meter space that I'm going to be using. But I mean, that lots of people are living in the same size unit as this, but they're living with other people as well, right? Imagine living in effectively a studio apartment with your girlfriend or boyfriend and maybe a kid or two. Like I can hardly imagine, and you would want to not have children in that circumstance. Like you'd be thinking, okay, if we're going to have children, we have got to move somewhere else because this is not going to work. Perfect for one person, but a bit tricky. And this is what, say, Peter Zion's always talking about, and I think most people agree that as cultures uh, get more urban, it's more and more awkward for people to have large families, which is one of the reasons why birth rates are crashing basically all around the world. There's other reasons, but I think urbanification, if that's a word, that's definitely one. And I was also talking to some people here about everything is shifted late compared to what I'm used to, right? So it's very normal to have dinner at 10 o'clock at night, for example. And people tend to start work a little bit later. They have lunch later. Everything is shifted later. And my theory, probably not alone in this theory, is that has to do with it being so hot, right? You hear about Mexicans taking siestas in the middle of the day because it's just unbearably hot. Now here, everybody seems to have air conditioning, but even so, culturally speaking, it makes sense to use those late hours of the day if you can, because it's really quite pleasant. It's funny. One of my local friends reached out to me the other day and said, "How are you dealing with the heat? It's heavy, as we say here." And I'm the truth is, I walk outside in my shirt sleeves and I think it's paradise, like every day so far. Well, okay, not today. Today was one of the heaviest rainstorms I've seen anywhere at any time. And I was standing on my balcony and taking footage of a brand new waterfall falling off of the large flat area over by the rural across the empty space. I don't know what to call it, but literally three large, gushing waterfalls coming down off that because it was raining super hard. So I did not go outside today, except for I walked over to Santa Fe Street in the middle of the day when the rain was a little lighter and grabbed myself 3 empanadas, un carne picante, un jamón de queso. And they were super good. I'm going to go back to that place. Little hole in the wall place. Anyway, I also wanted to talk about one crazy thing happened to me today, or like yesterday, I guess it was. So I'm sitting here working during the day as usual, and there's a knock at my door. Not like a ring on my interphone, which is kind of broken anyway, but not like someone's downstairs wanting to get into the building. It's like right here at this door, which is very alarming. Like, why would anybody be knocking at my door? So I walk over, I look through the little hole in the door. I don't see anybody, but I open it, and there's a guy out there, and he's carrying a canister, and he wants to come in. Why do you want to come in? So, but it's not really a question. It's not like, can I come in? He's gonna come in. So like, all right, come on in. And he came in and he walked into my little kitchen and got his little canister out and sprayed in all the cracks, like underneath the around the fridge, around the stove. And he says, "Baño?" I said, "Yeah, okay, over there." So then he sprays the all the sink drains in the bathroom, and that was obviously it's some kind of insecticide. One of the weirdest things I've ever had happen. So he's on his way, and I called my landlord and said, "So a guy came into the suite and sprayed it." Is it normal? And apparently, according to my landlord, it is mandatory that this happens monthly in Buenos Aires. Okay, I guess that's fine. It's very unusual from my regular way of living, but this is how we do it. I mean, we're living in a pretty warm area. There's definitely insects all over the place. I don't know. You don't see them everywhere. I have a good mosquito bite here on my arm from an insect, but it's not like you're walking around and seeing them everywhere. I remember walking years and years ago in Miami and seeing my first cockroach. Wow, that is a big insect. I don't want that anywhere near me. And it's not like that here, but I've caught the odd little thing like a little silverfish and there's insects. They're definitely insects. So, and that's even with monthly spraying. So, okay, there you go. If you come here, you can expect that people are going to spray for insects around. I also was invited to play tennis with my quartet friends, and so there were 5 of us, and we had a court. And back to the whole shifting things late, right? They said to me, we're going to play tennis after we rehearse. And so I naturally assume that must mean you're going to rehearse at like 5:30 and play tennis at 7:30. Nope, we're going to rehearse at 7:30 and finish at 9:30 and play tennis at 10 o'clock at night. That's just how we roll. So no problem. It's a beautiful temperature. And we went out on this. I have never personally stepped onto a clay court before, and this is my first time. Apparently, the Argentinian government at some point in the last few decades decided that there should be a lot of tennis courts, that they would really push the tennis thing, and they're all clay courts, just like you would find in France. Right? If you watch the French Open, I've definitely seen clay courts on the French Open, but never played on one before. The ball bounces really well. Also, it's a bit slippery compared to, I mean, I'm not used to playing on grass, God forbid. I play on concrete. And when I say I play, I mean, I played a couple of times 30 years ago with my brother. I don't think I've played a single game since. Maybe one random occasion. In any case, I'm terrible at tennis, and the guys in the quartet who were playing with me are a little better than me, but mostly they're singers and not tennis players. But they've taken on tennis as their secondary activity. So turns out one of them is going to be gone on Monday, and so when I come back from my little weekend trip, I'm going to play more tennis on a clay court at 10 at night. It's going to be super fun. Speaking of the weekend trip, so I'm going to take a ferry called a buquebus, a big ferry from the port down here, not that far away, to Uruguay. I want to go to Colonia del Sacramento on Saturday morning and kind of bum around there and maybe find a hotel or something, and then take a bus to Montevideo and again kind of look around, get a hotel. I need to have good internet that day because I'm going to play Dungeons and Dragons with my children. Super looking forward to that. And I think they are too. So we can do this online. Anyway, I thought it might be smart, since I'm getting a great exchange rate with my my US dollars that I brought, that I should try to see if I can pay for that ferry in pesos, right? Get a good deal. So I walked down there and really having no idea what to expect. And I find myself it's like an airport. It looks like an airport, and there's a big tourism bureau. And so you walk into the tourism bureau to ask a question, and you take a number, like actually it's like being at the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles. So I had A0001, believe it or not, but that was not the first one on the list. And so I'm sitting down, I'm waiting for my turn, and I come up and it tells me to go to a certain caje, which is like spelled like cage, but it's like a booth or like a wicket. And I ask my question. So can I buy it in pesos, or can I buy a ticket to go to Colonia one way? Can I buy it in pesos? Yes, it'll be 66,000 pesos, which is about $66, which I thought was actually really expensive, because in Vancouver, if I want to take a ferry around the same length, around 90 minutes to Victoria, just walking on is going to cost me $15 or $20. So this is quite a bit more expensive. It comes to $80 Canadian after exchange. And so once I realized it was going to be that, I went home and I bought it online, because why not? It's the same price. And I can preserve my cash that I need for groceries and the rest. And then on my way home, I heard that cabs were cheap here. And so on my way home, I walked out of the ferry terminal and I found a cab. And I asked the guy in my very broken Spanish, please take me to Palermo. He says, what part of Palermo? I give him the cross street. He says, it'll be blah, 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 number of pesos. And I'm like, okay. And so he takes, as many people do here, he takes his phone and it types out 13,000 pesos. And I'm thinking, well, that's like $13 for a 15-minute cab ride. That's not cheap. It doesn't seem that cheap. I mean, it would be more in Vancouver, but it's not like cheap like you would expect it to be here. Anyway, so I hopped in and I had the cab experience. And then I asked the question on some of the Facebook groups that I'm involved with for expats and for digital nomads. And basically, yeah, he ripped me off. That should have been a 3,000 peso cab ride, not a 13,000 peso cab ride. So it's not going to break the bank, but I'm going to be more careful. Actually, I think I'm just going to use Uber in the future for this purpose, because that seems to work super well. I had an Uber ride from the airport to here, and it was great. And now I speak a little more Spanish than I did a month ago. So it's even more pleasant, I think. I don't want to look like a total idiot when he's asking me whatever he's asking me in the Uber. What else can I say? Yeah, I also went to my first digital nomad meetup, which was pretty cool, actually. It's I'm staying in Palermo here at Santa Fe and close to Plaza Italia, and so I walked about 10 blocks up into Palermo Soho, where there's lots of bars. And there was one bar in particular where on the rooftop is this gathering of digital nomads, and most people were all clustered up, but I found some people who looked like they wouldn't mind being spoken to, and I had a good conversation with a guy named Mark from Michigan who just came from Lisbon and kind of works the remote lifestyle, and we had a good chat, and then with a couple of young ladies who are Americans but are living in Mexico City, and they work in Mexico City, but they have to stay in the time zone, and so they do a lot of traveling, but it's always in this area. So a bunch of good conversations, had myself a beer, and I walked home. But I would definitely go back. So now I know some people, and I'll see if I can see those people again, and I'll meet some new people, and it's fun. It's enjoyable. And it's really interesting, the whole digital nomad thing. I mean, yeah, I'm doing it, but lots of people can do it. They have these online jobs, not always programming. Actually, none of the people I spoke to were programmers. But they had lots of interesting observations about being here. It just turns out that they were all pretty new in Buenos Aires as well. So didn't have a lot to share. In fact, I was able to give them some advice about where the hip and happening restaurants are. Not that I've been to it yet, but the one called Don Julio that everyone says is the best steak, but it's going to cost you $80 US to have your steak, and presumably wine and everything else that comes with it. But the hard part is just getting a reservation at Don Julio. So we'll see about that. I may go once while I'm here just to see what the experience is like, since I seem to be basically gathering experiences. Yeah, and so that's it. I've been here for a month. I got 2 months to go, but ironically, I will be spending the next 2 or 3 days in Uruguay, and I'm looking forward to that. I'll get back to you guys all later with another update soon. Have a great day.